So remember the other day I was talking about anonymous sources and how they were about as reliable as when they come out with a news story that says 50 former intelligence officials say X. I think I was using former district attorneys as my example. Well, the next day they came out with their 50 former intelligence officials say article. I just thought that was funny. And if you were to list 50 former intelligence officials who you thought would be on this letter, you would probably get as many as you could guess. The sad thing is that this works on a lot of people. Oh my gosh, former intelligence officials. The DNI, John Ratcliffe, came out and said it was absolutely not part of any kind of Russian disinformation campaign. And further, he stated that Adam Schiff only knows the intelligence that the DNI gives him. So if the DNI says that there's no intelligence, that this is a Russian disinformation operation, Adam Schiff literally has no place to get that information from.
Now is the Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe. Director, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria. Good to be with you.
I want to start on the validity of all of this because we have been doing a deep dive into this laptop and these emails, which indicate Hunter Biden was cashing in on his father's position. Adam Schiff, from the chairman of the Intel Committee, is out and about this weekend on Sunday morning shows saying all of this news is just Russian disinformation, and it's not true. You are the Director of National Intelligence. You see more intelligence than anybody in the country other than the President of the United States, so you can tell us what's real and what's fake. Is this Russian disinformation, Director?
So, Maria, it's funny that some of the people that complain the most about intelligence being politicized are the ones politicizing intelligence. And unfortunately, in this case, it is Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, who, as you pointed out on Friday, said that the intelligence community believes that Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails on it are part of some Russian disinformation campaign. Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign. It's simply not true. And this is exactly what I said I would stop when I became the Director of National Intelligence. And that's people using the intelligence community to leverage some political narrative. And in this case, apparently, Chairman Schiff wants anything against his preferred political candidate to be deemed as not real and is using the intelligence community or attempting to use the intelligence community to say there's nothing to see here. Don't drag the intelligence community into this. Hunter Biden's laptop is not part of some Russian disinformation campaign, and I think it's clear that the American people know that. The intelligence community has not been involved with Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden is a U.S. person, and he would be subject to any investigation regarding fraud or corruption would be rightfully the jurisdiction of the FBI. So the FBI has had possession of this. What I can say, without commenting on any investigation that they may have into corruption or fraud, is to say that their investigation does not center around Russian disinformation, and the intelligence community is playing no role with respect to that.
So what are we supposed to do? Hear Adam Schiff calling it Russia disinformation 2 weeks before an election so that people are under the impression that this is not real? So is Adam Schiff lying to the American people? This is an elected official.
Yeah, so, Maria, what we do is we tell the truth. And my role as the Director of National Intelligence is to not allow people to leverage the intelligence community for a political narrative that's not true. And in this case, Adam Schiff saying that this is part of some Russian disinformation campaign and that the IC has assessed that or believes that is simply not true. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to tell the American people that that's the case. And I'll continue to do that, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. If they try and leverage the intelligence community for political gain, I won't allow it.
Well, I mean, what do we know? I mean, the FBI has been sitting on this for a year, Director Ratcliffe. Why didn't the FBI raise this issue while President Trump was being impeached? If they had this information since November, December of 2019, 2 months later, January 16th, rather, was the impeachment trial, which went all the way until February 5th. No mention from the FBI what they were sitting on. And the impeachment trial was all about President Trump's phone call with the head of Ukraine. Wouldn't that have been the opportunity for the FBI to say, hold on, we have this and we're investigating it?
I think so, Maria. You know, from my perspective, you remember during the impeachment, I was a member of Congress at the time. And I would remind everyone that during that time, the first administration to express concern about Hunter Biden and his relationship with Burisma and what was going on in the Ukraine was the Obama administration. It wasn't the Trump administration, and that was raised during the impeachment trial. But again, those are fair questions for the FBI, and I heard Senator Johnson's concerns about that, and the FBI should be providing that information to him and other members of Congress and to the American people to the extent it's not related to an investigation. But again, to underscore the first point that I made, this has nothing to do with the intelligence community or Russian disinformation. If it was, I would know that. So to be clear, it's not.
But this is the same situation that we faced around the narrative that President Trump colluded with Russia. And you were the congressman investigating much of this during 2018 and 2019. You joined me on my program many times asking the FBI to release documents. They didn't. They sat on documents so people did not really understand. It took you coming out just a few weeks ago and declassifying handwritten notes that John Brennan wrote, which indicated Hillary Clinton had the idea to tie President Trump to Russia. And the FBI knew it. Again, that was not released until a couple of weeks ago by you. How long did the FBI sit on that?
Well, Maria, so to remind people what I declassified, it was authentic Russian intelligence. It was Russian intelligence that was briefed by the former CIA director, John Brennan, to President Obama and Vice President Biden. And then it was properly referred by the CIA to the FBI for investigation. And it all related to a Hillary Clinton plan to create Trump-Russia collusion narrative that wasn't true. It wasn't just the FBI that knew that, though. It was the intelligence community and our law enforcement community that knew that. And I think everyone knows at this point that Hillary Clinton did create the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. She hired Christopher Steele for that purpose, and it was used in connection with the Steele dossier. It was used for FISA applications and all of that. I think what's different about when I declassified that information, it was the first time that members of Congress and the American people know now that our intelligence community and our law enforcement community were aware of that information before the Crossfire Hurricane counterintelligence investigation was ever opened. And those are the issues that John Durham is looking at, and those are the issues that have resulted in what we know aspects of that counterintelligence investigation were illegal. They were criminal. We know that. We know what happened at the FISA court was illegal. And as a result, one person has already pled guilty and will go to jail. And hopefully, as a result of John Durham's investigation, we'll ultimately find out who else was involved, what other crimes were committed. And, that process will have to play out. But you're right, Maria. Remember when we started all of this and we were doing those interviews, everyone said this is a bunch of nonsense. There's no abuse at the FISA course. There was no criminality there. And I told you, look, I've seen these underlying applications and I know what I know. And what happened here was illegal and it was improper. And ultimately, we got to the truth.
Well, I'm talking with the Director of National Intelligence this morning, John Ratcliffe, and you just heard President Trump and then Congressman Adam Schiff pushing the blame on the Kremlin, claiming Russia is responsible for the Hunter Biden email story. And I'm back with Director Ratcliffe. Director, how is it possible that an elected official gets away with going on television and saying something as false as these emails, Hunter Biden's situation is not true, it's disinformation from the Kremlin, Carlin, even after 4 years, 3 years really, where Adam Schiff went on lots of shows and said that President Trump colluded with Russia, and that collusion was in plain sight. Why is there no accountability? He's an elected official. How does he come out on the news media and say all of these things if it's not true, Director?
Well, unfortunately, as you know, Maria, I was a member of Congress, and members of Congress have the ability and have a platform to say things, and to say those things not under oath, and to make representations to the American people. Unfortunately, sometimes the things that they say and the things that they represent are not true. And in this case, with regard to Hunter Biden's laptop being part of a Russian disinformation campaign and the intelligence community believing that or assessing that, is simply not true. And the way we deal with that is to have officials like me come out and tell the American people, because the only intelligence that Adam Schiff gets is the intelligence that we, the intelligence community, give him. And we have given him no such intelligence. So to be clear about that. But to your earlier point, Maria, about how can people trust what's going on, is this is an administration. I realize it maybe hasn't happened as quickly as people want, but President Trump has put people in important positions to bring truth to the American people about these issues. Yeah, I shouldn't have been the one 4 years later to have to bring this information to light, but the fact is I've been able to do that, and I'll continue to do that. And I think that one of the things that the American people have to consider, some of which has now been proven to be criminal, those are the same people that want to return to power. They want to have the same opportunity to control the levers of power and to, again, mislead the American people. So I think that's something that the American people should consider as they go in and look at elections and everything that is going on in this country. But again, I think it's important that we have the opportunity to bring truth to what the American people should know, and I'm going to continue to do that as long as I'm privileged to hold this position.
So we know that Hillary Clinton comes up with the idea to tie Trump to a Russia scandal, and then the intelligence agencies of our great country are weaponized, and there is entrapment going on where Trump campaign people were targeted unlawfully, like Carter Page, who was wiretapped for a year. No charges were ever lobbed against Carter Page. How come we haven't seen more accountability? I mean, people out there might say, well, yeah, okay, Hillary Clinton came up with a story against her political opponent, and you say that the FBI was complicit in all of this, but we don't see any indictments. We don't see any prosecutions. What's taking so long, Director? Why can't the American people actually see justice in all of this?
Well, again, I think some of this is because some of the documents that underscore the abuses of power are just coming to light. I mean, I've just declassified some of them. And that has been, a process that's been in the works. But, with respect to the accountability, I respect the fact that John Durham, prosecutors shouldn't be looking at election calendars. They should be, concerned with the fair administration of justice. And I'm sure that John Durham is trying to do that. And, frankly, presents the best opportunity for there to be that accountability and that justice. There have been indictments, or there has been an indictment, and someone will go to prison for things that occurred at the FISA court that shouldn't have happened. My hope is, and our best chance for there to be accountability and for there to be people held responsible for things that shouldn't have happened in the intelligence community and in the law enforcement community against a political campaign, against a political candidate by the other party, is to not put those folks back in power and for this to, be swept away.
Should there be a special counsel investigating this that stays regardless of who's in the White House next year?
Well, again, I think the most important thing, without getting into special counsels, is let's let the process of justice work its way through. There's someone that is approaching it carefully. It's resulted in an indictment. I think there'll be more indictments.
Let that sink in. We have some good news, finally. Judge Loretta Preska, who we've covered in detail when we went over our Maxwell episodes, has been freed by the appellate court to act on her previous ruling that the documents from the Ghislaine Maxwell civil suit be released with as little as possible in the form of redactions. In light of the Court of Appeals mandate affirming this court's July 23, 2020 order that parties shall, as soon as is practicable, prepare for unsealing of 1. The transcripts of Miss Maxwell's and John Doe 1's depositions, and 2. All materials quoting those transcripts or disclosing information from those transcripts. The documents shall be unsealed in the manner prescribed by the court's July 28, 2020 order, and shall include minimal redactions for personally identifiable information, the names of non-parties as well as the families of non-parties that could be used to identify the non-parties, and descriptions of non-party conduct that would allow readers to discern the identity of a given non-party. In order to hasten the unsealing process and to avoid any last-minute disputes, the court advises the parties that the necessary redactions are intended to be as limited in scope as is workable. So ordered. So this is a bit of good news, right? At first, that's what we think. But if you'll remember, we covered the fact that before Preska ruled that this information was to be released, she first ruled that the plaintiff's lawyers were in possession of court documents that they should not have been in possession of. Because at the time they were representing Guthrie, and then when it came back around, they weren't. They were supposed to hand off all this documentation to the new lawyers, and they never did. Then it came out that they had this information and they weren't supposed to have it. So she excluded massive amounts of evidence before she ordered this release. That's all I'm saying. If she excludes that kind of evidence, then she may have been able to wipe the board of some names before she ordered the release. But hey, a little bit of good news. Possibly. You also have an antitrust investigation signed by 50 attorneys general, also being pursued by the Justice Department. This is pretty timely because it's getting to the point where people who are of the Wrong Think Club are basically unable to get out their information on these platforms. Methods to Madness was just removed today. They're removing any truth channels. They're just removing them. If my subs get up there, they're going to target me. So let's just hope something happens with this before they're able to completely wipe the board before November 4th. The Justice Department sues monopolist Google for violating antitrust laws. The center of their argument that Google is violating antitrust laws is their prior suit they brought against Microsoft. And the key to that suit that they brought against Microsoft in the 90s was that Microsoft was forcing competitors to put their software, Windows, on all of the computers that they sold, and that way were hedging any kind of competition. And they were requiring companies to put Windows in as the operating system. Bill Gates likes to run businesses like that. Now he's in the biomedicine field, and he's getting ready to force everybody to put that in them. Google has been doing the same kind of thing, anti-competition type behaviors, and this is what they list. Entering into exclusivity agreements that forbid pre-installation of any competing search service. Entering into tying and other arrangements that force pre-installation of its search applications in prime locations on mobile devices and make them undeletable regardless of the consumer preference. Entering into long-term agreements with Apple that require Google to be the default and de facto exclusive general search engine on Apple's popular Safari browser and other Apple search tools, generally using monopoly profits to buy preferential treatment from its search engine on devices, web browsers, and other search access points, creating a continuous and self-reinforcing cycle of monopolization. These and other anti-competitive practices harm competition and consumers, reducing the ability of innovative new companies to develop, compete, and discipline Google's behavior. So this is a pretty good lawsuit. It's pretty timely. It's got the bureaucracy, the Justice Department, and the Attorney Generals both involved, which is a good thing. We'll see. I'm more interested in the FCC doing a clarification on Rule 230 and perhaps changing it, but we'll have to wait and see how this susses out, because we're in the middle of a situation where If a Russian tells you the truth about a candidate, that's election interference. But when United States corporations lie to you about a candidate, that's not election meddling. And the problem is that it is election meddling. It's going to have to work its way through the same slow justice system that everything else is running through. The unfortunate thing that I see from this is we don't have the time. And it just keeps adding on and on and on about how important this election is going to be. If we want any justice whatsoever when it comes to freedom on the internet, freedom of ideas, we can pretend like there's a choice, but there's not. This all goes away if Biden wins. And lastly, I wanted to talk to you guys real quick about some information I came upon while researching the Hunter Biden laptop. It turns out that Chinese non-state media, so Chinese media sources that are outside of the CCP's control, have been reporting on what they've been calling hard drives for quite some time now. They started claiming that there were going to be hard drives that were going to surface and that were going to have all kinds of information and connections on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. They also claim that there are 3 hard drives currently. This was a claim they started making about last week. And then when I did my volume 3, I found out about not only Hunter Biden's laptop, but then Devin Archer's laptop and the laptop of Hunter Biden's psychiatrist that were also rumored to be looked at right now. And I'm actually hearing rumors of more than that. And it seems like, and I don't know this, and so this is just a guess, but it seems like if you just take the word hard drive and swap out laptop, that we're seeing what they were saying in September playing out now in October. And they're just going along with it. They are not even surprised that they were correct on this. They feel as though their information is solid. I don't. I can't verify it anywhere else. But I wanted to bring it to you guys to at least just say, I'm going to put the link to this guy's YouTube channel below the pinned comment, like I always do for all my sources. They'll all be down there. And I would highly suggest that you go to the guy's YouTube channel, you go to his Twitter, you can listen to his presentations yourself, and you can decide for yourself what you do or what you don't believe, or if there's any connections or not. It's just information I can't verify, so I'm not going to present it like it's mine, but it is information that I would want my audience to go look at. Just put it like that. Short episode. Honestly, I'm not really even feeling it today, but I wanted to get this information out to you guys. Love y'all. Peace.